Two reports, two indictments. Times Now is the only news channel to access complete CAG reports on Air India, as well as the one on KG Basin that indict the government seriously questioning the policies in the civil aviation by the Civil Aviation Ministry as well as the Petroleum Ministry.
The story that we have with us this afternoon is that the entire report of the Comptroller and Auditor General on the Air India scam is now out. Times Now has a full copy of the report. Earlier this week we had told you this could potentially be the story of the week. Today is the last full working day of Parliament and Navika has the full copy of the CAG report. This is a report that will make Mr. Praful Patel extremely nervous. But beyond Mr. Praful Patel, it will also make several people in the government nervous, because the decision making as far as all the critical points of the Air India scam are concerned went across between the Cabinet Committee of Economic Affairs. Groups of ministers were formed. The then Finance Minister was involved. His signature is on several documents, and of course it's all documented there in this Times Now exclusive breaking this afternoon. What do you have in that report? It's not yet been formally tabled in Parliament, is it, Navika?
Well, Arnab, any moment from now, this report likely to be tabled in Parliament. We have a copy of two very, very damaging reports as far as the government is concerned. One, of course, is the KG Basin report, but the more important report is the report by the CAG on the Civil Aviation Ministry. That's the report that I hold in my hand, and this report extremely stinging in its observation, not only on the Ministry of Civil Aviation, but the entire government decision-making process. The details in this entire report are now extremely damaging as far as the acquisition plans for Air India's 68 aircraft are concerned. 18 short route smaller aircraft and 50 larger aircraft. And just what does this report have to say about all of these issues? Let me tell you, Arnab, in brief, what really does the report say as far as the entire working of the Civil Aviation Ministry is concerned. It says there was a risky acquisition of a large number of aircraft with intention of vastly expanded operations and footprint. In the case of Air India, the large acquisition was clearly driven under the influence of the Ministry of Civil Aviation. It goes on to say a liberalized policy on bilateral entitlements for international air travel introduced by the Government of India, and these agreements, clearly the Air India and Indian Airlines were not having their houses in order, and it did not give them enough time to gear up for the highly competitive environment, very evidently worked to the detriment of the national and Indian private carriers. It also goes on to say the ill-timed merger undertaken strangely after separate aircraft acquisitions by Air India and Indian Airlines were completed, were driven from the top rather than by the perceived needs in both these airlines. It also goes on to say there were chronic operational deficiencies in the airlines, a weak financial position, grossly inadequate equity capital and undue dependence on debt funding, providing little or no cushion for these airlines. Really, the reason why these airlines are now going under because they have an accumulated debt of 38,000 crore. That's the figure quoted by the CAG. Sorry, Arnab. Got a bad throat there. As far as the acquisition of aircraft by Air India is concerned, it goes on to say that this entire process was undertaken in 1996 and pursued right up to January 2004. Between 1996 and January 2004, the plan was for the purchase of 28 aircraft. Between January 2004 and November 2004, suddenly the entire issue picked up speed. It says the increase in numbers does not withstand audit scrutiny, considering the market requirements obtaining then or forecast of future, as also the commercial viability projected to justify the acquisition. The acquisition appears to be supply driven. That means suppliers, Boeing, they were dictating terms and India was merely following that.
Yes, Navika. Take us to the KG Basin report. Two reports, two indictments. That's the headline today.
Well, it says the report on the KG Basin, again a huge indictment of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. It says we recommend that the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas should review the determination of the entire contract area as discovery area strictly in terms of the PSC provisions. It's a very technical report, if I can tell you that or not. It clearly says that this entire report where the operator in the KG Basin is Reliance Industries Limited. It says that it was awarded the first NELP contract around the year 2000, and it says we found the contractor was allowed to enter the second and third exploration phases without relinquishing 25% each of the total contract area at the end of phase 1. So he was supposed to develop a certain area, was supposed to give 25% before he moved on to the second level. It was supposed to give to the government the 25%, and nobody from the government insisted that RIL should return that 25%. It goes on to say, subsequently in February 2009, Government of India also conveyed approval to treat the entire contract area of 7,645 square kilometers as the discovery area, thus enabling the operator to completely avoid any relinquishment of the area. So undue advantages given to Reliance Industries by the government, by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas.
Our reporters are going to get reactions of Mr. Murli Deora and all those who are part of the decision-making process of the KG Basin as well. It's going to be difficult for the government this time to say this is simply bad accountancy or accountancy we don't agree with. Continue, Navika. Continue, Navika. Jaipal Reddy also. We are going to track Mr. Jaipal Reddy also on this one. Yes, Navika.
Well, Arnab, it goes on to say that originally the Director General of Hydrocarbons did not agree in May 2004 to Reliance's proposal while preparing to proceed from exploratory phase 1 to 2 for not relinquishing any part of the contract area, and reiterated the contractual agreements here. However, by April and May of 2005, it very seriously indicts the Director General Hydrocarbons. He says Director General Hydrocarbons had capitulated. If you remember, the CBI is now questioning the former DGH, Mr. Sibal, and that is clearly brought out by this CAG report. It says by April and May of 2005, the DGH had capitulated, while noting that there were no two different interpretations possible as far as definition of discovery provided in the project contract part of the block on a fast-track basis. Subsequently, the relinquishment area could not be worked out in a proper manner. In the meanwhile, Reliance had already moved from phase 1 to phase 2. So, crucial time given by the Director General of Hydrocarbons, who in May 2004 had objected to non-relinquishment by Reliance. By 2005, it had completely capitulated and taken a 180-degree turn on this entire issue. It goes on to say thereafter there were extensive correspondence between the Ministry of Petroleum and the Director General Hydrocarbons from August 2006. The Ministry of Petroleum raised pertinent questions as to whether the coverage of wells was over the entire block. Yes or no?
No, point is, Navika, that Mr. Murli Deora was the minister in 2004. Mr. Murli Deora was the minister in 2005. The government was the same, the Prime Minister was the same, the standing committee was the same, and basically this was a completely unilateral decision to take a right position, then correct your position with a 180-degree turn without any explanation. Was there any explanation provided? Usually in these reports you'd find that there is one part where they give what the government's point of view is. Are you finding something in that report about the government's point of view?
Yeah, it clearly says here, Arnab, that the Reliance Industries Limited's proposal of April 2004 to not relinquish any area and retain the whole contract area as discovery area was submerged in a sea of correspondence between Reliance and the Director General Hydrocarbons without relinquishment action being taken in terms of the contractual provisions, while Reliance was allowed to proceed from phase to phase. By April 2005, the Director General Hydrocarbons had waived its earlier objections and now directed the operator to complete the 3D seismic data. By July 2006, the Director General of Hydrocarbons completed its about turn and agreed to the contractor's proposal. The Ministry of Petroleum was aware of the flaws in through the management committee's decision for retention of the entire area, but instead of reversing the same, it chose to accept the Director General Hydrocarbons certification for such retention. So first the Director General of Hydrocarbons in 2004 objected. By 2005 May they had turned there around, and the Ministry of Petroleum completely conveniently waved off the change in position and did not raise any questions, just took at face value the provision made by the Director General of Hydrocarbons and allowed Reliance to get away with the entire contract area as its own.